Hi guys, this is me again, Leorica Plaza, and now we're going to talk about the continuation of reflection in final. So reflection number one is talisman for national stupidity. There is this assumption that heroes necessarily mirror their country. When you think about it, historical heroes exist as containers of a nation's ambitions and dreams. They are the guiding lights and individuals who help shape the nature of a people. Heroes are, in other words, can be called the soul and the conscience of a country. Their theories, values, and examples functioning as the benchmark for correct collective action. That as well is why each generation must recast their nation's heroes in new shapes and perceive them in new perspectives. Heroes and their actions, much like all of history, are continually up for reinterpretation. Without that process, they will never be significant. A frightening topic to ponder is if our heroes are genuinely relevant today. As a result, analyzing how our heroes are treated and formed in the public realm provides a country an understanding of who they are as a people. Heroes are a reflection of the values of the people, and if that is the case, as I firmly assume that it is, then the way we currently build Rizal, the way we approach him and his legacy, does not speak too well of us. Now, reflection number two, the Clara M. Recto and Rizal Bill, the Rizal Law RA 1425 and its predicament. The Rizal Law is about enacting guidelines to educate people about the life, works, and writings of our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, especially his novels No Limitangere and El Filibusterismo. To this to give the kids and the future generation an example background and for them to comprehend about how Jose Rizal gives over his life for our country. In the case of RA 1425, I do not believe that conformity or harmony with the law is the issue at hand in all candor. I have the impression that Rizal radical views, which are reflected in his novels Nole and Fele, somewhat intrude on some of the teaching of the Catholic faith. This is what caused so much opposition from religious groups who were afraid that their followers might lose faith. For a long time, the debates and controversies in the country have caused a certain amount of division between the religious people in the country and the nationalists in the country. Reflection number three, No Limitang Here. The novels are reflections on the Philippines and Philippine society, both at the time of the Spanish colonial occupation and in modern times. The novels, in my opinion, do an excellent job of depicting Dr. Jose Rizal hopes and anxieties for the future of the Philippines as well as the hopes and dreams of the Filipinos living during his time. The novel of No Limitang Here paints a picture of the social evils that were prevalent not just in Spain at the time, but in other times and places as well. How the people who are in power are both tyrannical and gullible, while the people themselves are weak and gullible. In today's world, it is possible for unscrupulous politicians and even church officials who are tied to friars to watch it and take advantage to it. The novels have opened my eyes in many different ways. Even it's not truly masterpiece, it's the kind of thing you should read if you want to think about deeply of the past, gain wisdom from it, and understand how the past influences the present. Fourth is the El Filibusterismo. We are able to learn from El Filibusterismo that in the end, a revolution that is brought about solely by ambition and revenge rather than by unity will fail. It is true that Simon and Ibarra were victims of the Spaniards during their time in the area. Nevertheless, this does not mean that his methods are acceptable in any way. At the conclusion of the tale, it becomes clear that he and his efforts were unsuccessful. The glorification of Jose Rizal as Filipino national hero is writings against the Spanish colonial rule of the friars as de facto rulers. A novel written Jose Rizal as a follow-up to Nolimi Tangere. The outcome is the Philippines today, independent from Spain and US colonial rule, presided over by popular despots like Rodrigo Duterte. Thank God in the Philippines there are new Jose Rizal standing up for freedom and justice for the Filipino like Maria Reza, Nobel laureate. Let's hope she survives long enough to voice her concern, unlike other writers and journalists murdered in Philippines in pursuing the truth and justice. After many years of traveling under different guise, the protagonist of the novel, Nole, finally came back home. He makes an effort to awaken patriotism of his people and desires revolution. And the reflection number 5 is the vision of Father Rodriguez. This for the La Vision del Fray Rodriguez by Jose Rizal shows conversation between Saint Augustine and Augustinian priest Friar Jose Rodriguez. The saint condemns the priest on his views and behaviors which oppose with priesthood. He also described the priest's harmful deeds committed using the Catholic Church's name. Saint Augustine goes on to considerable length of criticizing the friars' lack in understanding Christians' principles and doctrines. To chastise him, Saint Augustine challenges his stubbornness paired with stupidity through writing so that the world will laugh at him. Reflection number 6 is by telephone. Poor Telefono is a satirical comedy about Father Font, who was in Madrid speaking with a provincial priest in San Agustin Monastery using a telephone line that was spearheaded by the transoceanic telephone. Per Telefono is about a conversation that took place between Father Font in Madrid and provincial priest in San Agustin Monastery. All of the people who live in St. Augustine groaned, and all the friars beat their breasts and scourged each other to do penance and get the soul of a little Salvadorecito tant back on the right path. All of this chaos in the convent of Augustine was heard on the phone in Madrid where Salvadorecito tant yelled, out like a good boy. Lastly is the Rizal's letter to Father Pastils. Rizal's first letter to Father Pastils says, "Thank you to Father Pastel for the valuable present, a book of Sarda." Sarda is a skilled polemicist at getting his ideas across to a certain social class. According to Rizal, tell him to stop the foolishness of looking at his affairs through the lens of his own judgment and self-esteem. Rizal wrote, "No one is judge of his own cause." Rizal explained about prism of own judgment and self-esteem. However, I don't think it was wrong for a person to look at his or her own life through the lens of his or her own judgment and self-esteem, because God must have given him these abilities for a reason. When choosing, we have to use our own judgment, or we'd end up being wise men in each other's home if we keep doing the same thing over and over. Rizal explained about prism and own judgment and self-esteem. However, I don't think it's wrong for a person to look his or her life through the lens of her own judgment. So that could be all. Thank you for watching.